How can you fix the arched back you see in your handstand and make this or this look like that? What's up everyone, this is Vincent from the Handstand Academy, and today we talk about the arch in your back. Many people I see coming to my classes at first, when trying to understand what's wrong with their handstand, blame the arch they see in their back, whether it is freestanding or with the wall. So when I ask them to kick up against the wall, what I usually see is something like this. And then they take off and they try to hold it there. And to explain why they cannot hold it longer and why it's so hard to make this happen freestanding, they blame the curl. However, this is not the problem. And before we see why it's not as much a problem as you think and why trying to solve it at all costs is actually delaying your progress and preventing you from getting your handstand freestanding in the first place, let's define what this arch is. There's two main ways to arch in a handstand. You have to separate them because they don't mean quite the same. The first way is edging towards a banana handstand. In a banana handstand, we have this arch of the entire spine. The shoulders are closed, meaning the angle between the arm and the torso is going to be less than 180 degrees, and the feet are overbalanced, overshot, overhead. But this arch, especially when it comes to the thoracic spine and the lower back, can also be felt in piked position, in which we try to bring the butt out overhead with open shoulders this time. So here, if I try to stick my butt out, I have open shoulders this time. I do feel a strain in my back, a stretch, making me realize that I am indeed extending that spine. It feels similar to the banana, but it's not the same because, as you can see, the shoulders are open. The first position, the banana, is something that feels for most people pretty strong, pretty safe, and maybe doesn't look the part, but it is somewhere where we feel safe, and the sense of safety is going to be very important when it comes the time to freestanding. The second position is an open shoulder position. The butt is out the same way it would be when we learn to transition from a straight handstand to a straddle, a tuck, or frog, or a pike position, and therefore this arch will become desirable as a stepping stone towards those more advanced positions. And if you do not distinguish between those two forms of arching, you will conflate them and you will fail at recognizing that some of it can actually be desirable. So what we may say for now is the open shoulder form of arching, the piked form of arching, will be desirable tomorrow. And maybe it's the banana we want to get rid of. And before we actually get rid of that, my question to you is, why do you absolutely want to get rid of this? Because guess what? A banana handstand, an arched handstand, is just as much a handstand as a straight handstand. And not so long ago, holding a handstand with the banana, an arched back, was actually a thing in the performance context. The problem is that with your social media, you see a lot of people achieving that very straight, appealing, eye-pleasing line. And you think to yourself, well, they can hold a handstand. I have seen them doing so in videos. They have a straight line. Therefore, to hold a handstand, I need a straight line. You look at your handstand and you see an arch and you conclude, well, this is why I am not holding a handstand. This is a logical fallacy. You look at a straight handstand and you think, well, those people are holding it, they're straight, therefore being straight is a prerequisite for you to hold a handstand, and that's not quite the case. How straight it looks has nothing to do with whether or not you can hold it. Correlation is not causation. Worse than that, the straightest lines are usually harder to hold than things that are usually a bit arched. And you have to understand that the arch itself is a product, usually, of what happens in your shoulders. The shoulder angle will dictate where the pelvis is and create or erase that curve that you see in your back.
And to dive deeper into this relationship between the shoulder angle and the pelvis placement in space, dive into the resources you will find in the description. 80 to 90% of the people who start their handstand journey will learn first to balance something that is slightly curved. And they want to own this. They want to refine it to the point where they can kick up into this without any shadow of doubt. And the day they can do that, well, then we teach them to sculpt this handstand into something that is more eye-pleasing, and straighter, should that be their goal. Do not put the cart before the horse. Do not be confused in terms of priorities. You want first to be able to hold something reliably and then morph that into a specific shape that you prefer. If you aim straight for the more complicated thing, you will get frustrated. You are shooting too far too soon. You are punching above your weight class, which usually ends up with you quitting along the way. Now, most of you watching this video belong in the category of people who need to first own their handstand freestanding, get their first handstand freestanding, and then worry about how it looks. But for those of you who can actually already hold something freestanding and want to refine it already, then one drill I can propose, of course, we would have to first ideally assess your shoulder mobility and what you can do there and what is happening that makes you lose balance. But let's assume you have reasonably open shoulders. The one drill I would have you play with is the following. You go into your arched handstand. That's your default when you freestand. And from here, you try to go from this arch to this arch that we spoke of at the beginning of the video. And going from one to the other is going to teach you to open and close the shoulders while balancing, which is an extremely important skill to develop when we move from the improver level to the intermediate level in our handstand journey. If you have any questions, as usual, leave me a comment.